Well, it's quite interesting to see everybody's different perspective on the challenges that we face here in ease of use. From our perspective at Motorola, it's all about designing seamless experiences. In other words, we're looking at the total experience of the user and not just the interaction with the device. When I look at sort of the classic problems that we've faced in this space over the years, over the last couple of decades, I've seen us try to address the general problem of what we call the surgeon's scalpel versus the Swiss Army knife. And I think most of you in the human-computer interaction business probably know this analogy. Don Norman, I think, mentioned in a couple of his books. That's generally that, you know, if you're out on a hike in the woods and you discover someone who needs a tracheotomy, a Swiss Army knife is great. It's a sharp blade and it'll do the job to save their life. If you're going to do heart surgery, you're going to need a scalpel, a very specialized instrument. So this dynamic tension between a general purpose device that does everything or a specialized instrument, we see this constantly in people having changing needs out there. The other big problem that we see is the access to functionality problem. It's well known that some subset of functionality at the top level of the menu of the device is what people mostly use, and very often they don't get to the other 80%. And I think the other problem that we've seen is the mental model that people carry with them. And we've seen this in terms of the PC world, for instance, wherever you got on the train. If you started out as a DOS user back in the early 80s, you were very comfortable with typed commands and command and control kind of world. If you got on the graphical user interface space, you loved to click on icons. And you can see how people use Windows, almost depending on when they got on the train. So people develop a mental model of how they like to interact with something, and they want that to map forward in time over the use of their devices. They also want it to map across different devices. So these are three tough problems that the industry has struggled with. Classically, in addressing these, we've seen a very focused use by the industrial design community, in this regard, I mean the hardware people in particular, where they are trying to come up with the next best beautiful scalpel or the next best general purpose Swiss Army knife approach. You know, we have devices that you can rotate the orientation of the display and the keyboard, and it looks like robotics transformers as you try to get the right combination for the job at hand. We've seen a lot of anxiety in the user interface design community about creating the exact perfect icon or the exact layer of menus or how you navigate through things. And we've also seen now, I think recently, a big emphasis on just making it simple. So scaled down devices now. Give me just a simple phone, or give me a simple MP3 player, or some other device. All of these approaches are good and have made strides, but I think we've got to look really at what's happening in the future as a major trend. And in particular, I think the industry is underplaying the value of graphics and touchscreen-based devices, because you've got this wonderful direct correspondence between the user's action and a freely mappable display that you can map different functions up there. I think an important future trend is we're going to see personalization become increasingly valuable. And that's going to be married not only with the personalization of what my user interface looks like, but what is the kind of content that I get and how do I interact with that content, and what kind of services make sense for me. So it'll be a highly personalized experience. I think also the underlying capability that Junko referred to in her early slides, these devices are becoming more complex, but they are becoming increasingly capable. And we need to leverage that capability and isolate the user from the complexity of the device. And we're very hopeful that, for instance, discoverable intelligence, I should be able to walk into the room with a device that I'm familiar with, for instance, my cell phone, have it make an inquiry of the device in the room, what can you do, and then map that functionality to what I'm familiar with on my device. So I should be able to walk in and control that LCD projector, for instance, from my device with a screen that makes sense to me, and not have to know about the complexities of that model and manufacture, because we'll talk to each other. And I think those kinds of capabilities in the future will be very valuable to us. In terms of the design directions, I see two specific areas we need to look at. One is first, I'll call it the device-oriented design directions. And we're going to see here a greater emphasis on the access methods provided. It's been alluded by a couple of our speakers here in terms of access modalities. Natural language understanding is making huge strides technologically, and I think most devices will see complemented not only with a tactile interface of some sort, whether it's dedicated buttons or a GUI, but we'll also see a speech-based interface on those devices. We'll see devices that are adaptive and sensitive to the user's needs and change on the context of the interaction. We will see this functional tension get resolved in terms of transforming the interface, whether it is by reducing what you're presented with or highlighting certain aspects. And so this problem of complexity will get resolved by a flatter, more personalized, highlighted kind of interaction. Personalization, I've mentioned. Preferences are going to be important. In fact, portable preferences that will move with you from device to device, knows that the way you like things will be a way of normal interaction. And there will always be an emphasis on style, making sure this is fun and not just a task orientation. The other aspect of this I think is important is cross-platform consistency and looking at the whole system of interconnected devices. So there's big emphasis on how to make your interaction across platforms more capable. We're going to see more machine intelligence harnessed, especially doing the lower layer tasks for you so that the user can have a sense of control and be a strategic, you'll have a strategic relationship with your device rather than a tactical relationship with your device. There'll be greater leverage of presence. In other words, a lot of sensors are coming out now, small, lightweight, low energy, low-cost sensors that you can integrate in devices. And again, we'll see adaptivity. We think you can put all this together, and we really should be advocates in the industry for what we call intelligent user interaction. And the attributes of intelligent interaction are here. I won't go over them in detail. But basically, goal-oriented is something I think is very important. We're moving from directed interaction, a world of where the user must know what's on the device and directed to do something, to a world in which we have goal-oriented interfaces, in which the device understands your goals and carries out the tasks for you. And eventually, the third phase will be transparent interfaces, where the device knows you. So I think there'll be a big paradigm shift. I think the rest of these are fairly self-evident in the space we address here. But I think all these components are important for intelligent user interaction to support the devices